I'm sure many of you will say this will never happen to you. You'll never be in this situation. If that's true, great. But if one person is in this situation, then the chances are there are many of you in a similar situation. Should you retire? Or should you wait? That's the question. What is your answer for you? Are you scared because of the situation? So what's the first thing to do? Advisors, they may tell you to wait. The first thing you need to do, the very first thing you need to do is to make a budget. No, it's not to pay off the credit card. It's to make a budget. Making a budget is a plan. It's a plan forward. It can't be a goal. It has to be a plan. If you make it as a goal, you'll probably say, I'll wait an extra 6 months before I retire. Make it a plan. Plan and take action to implement the plan. So the first thing to do is to make a budget. As you make your budget, we can now sit back and say, what do I do with the loan, the credit card loan? Do I pay it off before I retire, while I'm retired? Okay, I have a 12% mutual fund. Dave Ramsey does. They say it's hard to get one of these. Not all of them pay 12%. But let's just take a 12% mutual fund, and let's just say it makes 24% this year, because remember it's an average. So this year it's a 24% growth. The cash value that we have right now, the $17,000, it's not that much more than this credit card loan. 24% for the interest, 23% for the loan. It's a wash. And that's if you can make 24%, which is not likely, not guaranteed. The 23% is guaranteed. So pay off the loan now with your money. Knock your emergency money down to, say, $10,000. Pay it off today, not tomorrow, today. If you can't pay it off today for whatever reason, rationalizing, as a for instance, how do you expect to retire? This is an easy one. Because what's going to happen, again, the plan. So you paid it off. Okay, good. Part of that plan is to not have any rollover credit card payments. If you use a credit card, I do, most people do, or a lot of people do, I do, then you pay it off every month. So if you pay it off today, you have 5 months to try and test yourself, to verify that when you use that credit card, you're going to pay it off the next month. There's not going to be any interest. If you struggle with that, it's going to definitely give you an idea. That's a simple budget. It's a simple plan to not incur additional debt on the credit card for, say, the next 5 months. If you can do that, you're going to develop a habit. And during retirement, the chances are you won't incur credit card debt. Great. We have a second car loan, $3,000. Do we pay it off? We can have this paid off by the time we retire. So is it necessary to pay it off? We're going to say it's paid off at retirement. So when do you pay it off? I'll leave that up to you. But it will be paid off before retirement. The credit card, that's today. No delay. Today. Now we have a house note, which is fairly large, but doable. We have an SBA, which is also doable. And we have the other car. Okay, budget for these. So the first thing is work your budget based on how much you're going to pay for these. We put a budget together. This looks realistic, doable for retirement. The problem is, this isn't everything. Remember, a budget. We started off with known costs right now, known loans. But we have to budget for, say, house insurance, car insurance. We have to budget for food, utilities, say a cell phone. We need to budget for one of the things that we often forget, medical insurance. We need a budget for medical insurance. While we're working, the company pays for it or it comes out of our pocket. We have an income. We don't even think about the medical insurance. We sign up for it every year. It's covered. Medical insurance, we have to budget for it. How much? I'm just going to say $500 per month. What happens when we hit 65? Well, believe it or not, medical insurance still applies. Medicare does not cover all of your medical expenses. Well, you have to buy. This is the funny thing about Medicare. You either pay for it, the insurance now, or you get billed significantly if you ever decide you need to use it. So you might as well start paying for it at the start. Is it high? It's not high. So then you're going to need supplemental insurance, which again brings you up to, say, $500 monthly for medical insurance. We just went from the 3 loans to additional budgeting requirements. It looks doable, but we're living, let's just say, month to month. We're not making paychecks, so we're going to say month to month. Social Security. So we're going to say paycheck to paycheck. Social Security paycheck to Social Security paycheck. It's going to be a struggle. We haven't made any concessions for something like a roof over our heads on our house. So we need to save additional money to pay for a roof. Let's just say it's $12,000. Okay, it's 1 year. You don't need it today. So you can take 2 years to save $500 a month. Now we have a start. What about medical expenses? Medical expenses. Just because you have medical insurance in the U.S. doesn't mean that you don't have expenses. So you have medical expenses. If you're in France, you don't have the medical expenses. You don't have to pay for, say, cancer treatments. We're not so lucky here. We have to pay. Again, part of the insurance. Part of our deductible. So my example so far is for a single person. If you have 2 people, of course now you have to add a little extra for food. The utilities could be the same, so you're adding a little for food and you're adding a little for medical insurance. So that's another $700 minimum, as a for instance, in our budget. We have to keep this in mind. Often people talk about it as one. Yes, you might have extra Social Security coming in, but this is the reason why I'm just doing it as a single person. Remember, to accumulate wealth in our youth, we budget and save. Save. Save being the operative word. When a rainy day happens, such as the roof, such as medical expenses, we need to have money saved. If we didn't do that, then we put ourselves into a financial burden in retirement where we have a limited income coming in because we're no longer working. You're 61 years of age. We estimate, or I would estimate, at least 20 years. The government's going to give you 30 years or more. Say 62, 20 years, it's 82. You're going to need at least one roof placed over there on your house. So again, That's one thing to keep up. Our health deteriorates as we age. Chances for cancer are a little bit more likely. So we definitely need to make sure we're saving. Your pension not changing, inflation happening. If you can't save, then eventually you'll go, say, into debt, which is another reason to save and add savings into your budget. Unless you just stay at home the entire time and do absolutely nothing but watch TV, as a for instance, or read a book. My Social Security is not enough. 401k millionaire. What is another budget item that should be included? One that they don't really talk about and teach you. Taxes. So again, the budget, you're listing everything. Taking today as you work, you pay taxes. So make sure you include that. You're paying insurance, you're paying food, house, etc. Include the taxes as part of your budget, because when you withdraw part of that 401k millionaire money, your RMDs, you're going to have to pay taxes or get less money from Social Security, which again is an income. And if you budgeted for the full thing, you see how it definitely goes around in a circle, how important each step is. They talk about 80%, budget for 80% of what you're working right now. Again, we're talking income for the future. 80%. I don't know where that came from. I know it's a guideline, it's something to help you out, but where it came from, it's just mind-boggling because it doesn't seem to work. Maybe it's to try to force you to live on a lesser income, but I haven't been so fortunate with 80%. If your house is paid off, then your budget would not include it while working. So to use it as a means of lowering your monthly outgo, your budget in retirement, if you're not using it while you're working, you can't really factor it in as part of the 80% delta. Are they saying are you basing the 80% when you first start working, and that's without your house, etc.? Are they going to base it later on? As you age, you make more money. You probably spend more money. Kids, wife, house, bigger houses. So your expenses are going up. If at this point here, you're 5 years from retirement, let's just say, and your house is paid off, these are your expenses. They might still go up, but these are your expenses. To arbitrarily say 80% now, this is your baseline. Now you're going to say 80%. You don't pay for gas to go back and forth to work. But what else? Everything else you're paying for. So I personally don't understand the 80%. The numbers I'm about to provide for you are Mark's retirement. Just for Mark. He has a couple of annuities that I don't have. So his income coming in is larger than mine. Those two annuities, they really do make a huge difference. Do I wish I had them? The answer is yes, I do. Do I need them? I learned to live a different way without them, so it's not part of my budget. But again, you probably don't have them. And if you don't have them, then you can't put this into your budget. This is going to help or hurt, depending on if you get or don't have the annuities. Mark will bring in $1,700, $1,700 from one annuity. The other one is going to be $500. The $500 is basically a wash as it applies to the house. He could use that annuity to pay off the house, or he can keep the annuity and pay the house with the annuity. We'll talk about that at another time on how to go forward with it. I would keep the annuity, but as I said, there's much more to it. And then he gets Social Security. Now he's making, say, a substantial amount of money. This is good. $4,700, $56,000 a year. That makes a difference. It looks like Mark is set, doesn't it? There's more to the situation. He's not finished. Your situation is different, but similar. If you're years away from retirement, you get an idea of what to do now to save for retirement. 61, let's just say 51. So you have 10 years, 10 extra years. Make a plan, not a goal, a plan. Because these 10 years are important. If you're 20 years, again, the difference between the 10 years and the 20 years, you have more time. Time is your friend. So focus on your retirement. Can you retire? I don't know, but based on numbers, you may think it's impossible. Why? Again, why? Mark doesn't have $1 million, but he can retire. He has the choice. That's what you're looking for. Financial advisors say take 4%. So 4% of the $280,000 is $900 per month. For Mark, this falls short because his home mortgage, he has a home mortgage to pay. Maybe you do as well. If we use 8% like Dave Ramsey suggests, then you have sufficient funds. I would never agree with an 8% withdrawal. For $1 million, you have time. For 280, it's not quite the same thing. So in one case, you have, all things being equal, one case you have enough that lets you ride through. So let's just take it as a 280 and 8%. That's a lot different than $1 million and 8%. You still need 8% in both cases, yes. But the difference is that you have the money so that you can somewhat ride through the situation of, so you have emergency money. That's a better way to put it. You kind of like have emergency money built in to your $1 million that you do not have for, say, $250,000. The numbers I've provided are for Mark. They're a basis. You may have more medical bills, house payments, etc. Now he gets to choose what to do with this $343,000 401k. Right now he doesn't have to use it. Should he convert it? Should he use it? That also gets to be added into him, for his situation. You can call it his emergency money. I think he's pretty much set to go. He has choices. What would I do with that money? What would I suggest to do? I personally would manage it because I know how to manage the money, where to put it. You might give it to an advisor because you're not that knowledgeable and you want to pay them a little extra. But I do think you want to take it out of the 401k plan because the 401k plan is limited, let's just say, to 10 mutual funds. 10 stocks, 10 mutual funds. Really, it's mutual funds. So do you want to stay limited to these, Or would you like to have the broader range, even if you let a manager do it? And this becomes, you can say maybe controversial. Personally, I would say put it into a mutual fund at the age of 20, at the age of 62, say 20 years. You could put it into an index fund or a mutual fund. I would put it into a 12% mutual fund. That's what I would do. So let me summarize. Mark wants to retire in a few months. You may also. He doesn't have $1 million. He has a large credit card debt, and I would say a large house loan. Pay off the credit card today. The others we can work through. Make sure you have budgeted for everything, taxes as well. So save part of that money. In your budget, you want to include savings. I would say $500 to $1,000. There's going to be other videos that I can make on this topic, such as to pay off the house or not to pay off the house, to discuss the 401k. When do you take the distributions? Right now, as I've just shown, he doesn't need to take them at, say, 62. He can wait till 72. But one thing for certain, what we have just shown is that 401k is not to be thought of strictly or basically totally as retired minimum distributions, RMDs. The next part is, do we take them early or do we delay? I can tell you one thing. Nah, let me hold off. I don't want to overwhelm you. I'll save that for the next time if you're interested. Thank you. Bye.